The bones of the giants, archaeological stories and the myths that defy science, the mystery of the giants and their bones. Since the dawn of humanity, giants have fascinated cultures around the world. In many ancient civilizations, these imposing beings were portrayed as symbols of strength, divinity, or as powerful enemies to be vanquished. The Bible, for example, mentions the Nephilim, a race of giants who inhabited the earth before the flood. However, interest in giants is not limited to the Bible alone. Throughout history, countless claims of discoveries of giant bones have been made, and these stories have been repeated with different variations across cultures and continents. The question of the existence of giants has always been shrouded in controversy. Many archaeologists and scientists refute these stories, stating that there is no concrete evidence to support the existence of a race of giants on Earth. However, the reports do not disappear. In the mid-19th and early 20th centuries, newspapers in various parts of the world published sensational headlines about discoveries of gigantic bones. These reports often appeared in places where ancient civilizations had left their mark, such as in the Americas, Europe, and the Middle East. One of the most famous cases is that of the Cardiff giant, a hoax that, in 1869, deceived many by claiming to have discovered a fossilized giant in New York. But even as these stories were unmasked as hoaxes, belief in giants persisted, especially among those who believe that human history contains chapters forgotten or repressed by conventional science. Are these reports just persistent myths, or is there a basis of truth behind these stories that continue to intrigue so much? Biblical giants and archaeological interest. The giants mentioned in the Bible, such as the Nephilim, have aroused the curiosity of both religious scholars and archaeology enthusiasts. The Bible describes the Nephilim as men of renown, a people feared for their great stature and power. Some scholars theorize that these beings could have been real inhabitants of a pre-flood period, while others believe that they represent mythological or symbolic figures. In addition to the Nephilim, there are other figures of giants in the Bible, such as the famous Goliath, the Philistine warrior defeated by David. Although Goliath is often seen as an exception, he may be part of a larger lineage of biblical giants. Some theorists suggest that reports of Goliath and other giants are evidence of a time when beings of large stature were more common. For those looking for a scientific explanation, many theorists in the field of alternative archaeology argue that the bones of giants could be buried in places that have not yet been fully explored. They also argue that stories of giants may have, over time, been distorted or forgotten, especially in periods of catastrophe such as Noah's flood. This perspective, although widely discredited by mainstream archaeologists, still finds resonance among theorists who believe that there is much more to human history than the history books record. Giants of North America, ancient accounts, and modern discoveries. The territory of the United States is a focus of many legends about giants, especially associated with the mounds of earth known as mounds, constructions of ancient native peoples. During the 19th and 20th centuries, several claims were made about discoveries of giant skeletons buried in these structures. Reports often describe these skeletons as measuring over 10 feet tall. These mounds were found in places like Ohio, Kentucky, and Wisconsin, where ancient native tribes buried their dead with great reverence. A notable example is the San Diego giant, a supposed skeleton discovered in the late 19th century. The skeleton was reportedly 7 meters tall, but was quickly unmasked as a hoax. Likewise, several giant bone discoveries in the Mississippi Valley were later attributed to misunderstandings or intentional manipulations. Many archaeologists explain these discoveries as misinterpretations of the remains of large humans or the bones of prehistoric animals such as mastodons, which were often mistaken for human remains. However, conspiracy theories argue that there were deliberate efforts to hide evidence of a race of giants, whether for scientific or political reasons. These claims often assert that museums and universities have suppressed or destroyed evidence that does not fit traditional theories of human evolution. Giants of South America, accounts of Magellan and contemporary discoveries. South America also has its own fascinating accounts of giants. During his trip around the world in 1520, Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan wrote about an encounter with a tribe of giants in the Patagonia region in the far south of Argentina. These Patagonian giants were described as enormous men, over 3 meters tall. Magellan and his men claimed to have briefly lived with this tribe before continuing on their journey, and reports about the giants were widely accepted at the time. Despite Magellan's reports, there is no conclusive physical evidence that such giants actually existed in Patagonia. However, this did not stop the story from coming to life in the popular imagination, being retold and reinvented over the centuries. In fact, the term Patagonia may even derive from the word used by explorers to describe these giants. In the 20th century, there were reports of giant bones found in caves in the Andean region of Peru and Ecuador, with some alternative archaeologists suggesting that these discoveries are evidence of a lost civilization of giants. These claims, however, remain highly controversial and have not been confirmed by rigorous scientific investigations. But the legend of South America's giants continues to fuel theories about lost civilizations and extinct human species. Giants of Europe. Mythology and archaeological finds. Stories of giants are not exclusive to the Americas. In Europe, myths and legends about giants are found in different cultures, from the giants of Norse mythology, such as the Jotuns, to Celtic accounts of beings of great stature. These figures are deeply rooted in European folklore. Many of these myths were influenced by the dramatic geography of Europe, mountains, cliffs, and dense forests, which often seemed inhabited by larger-than-life beings. An interesting example is the report about the giants on the island of Crete, in Greece, where in the 19th century a series of bones were discovered that, at first glance, looked human. Some believe that these bones belonged to giants described in Greek mythology. However, it was later discovered that they were the bones of dwarf mammoths, an extinct species that inhabited the island. This is an excellent example of how reality and myth can become blurred over time. In Spain and France, stories of giant bones have also emerged over the centuries. Some of these reports, such as that of a giant skull found in the Pyrenees, were later revealed to be the bones of large prehistoric animals. However, the reports continue to capture the public's imagination. Part 6: Giants in Africa, Ancient Myths and Inexplicable Discoveries. Africa, a continent with a rich cultural and historical heritage, is also the scene of myths about giants. Many of these myths are found in the oral traditions of various tribes, which speak of ancient kings and giant warriors who ruled vast territories. In Egyptian mythology, for example, there are references to beings of great stature, often related to deities or legendary heroes. In the early 20th century, there were reports of giant bones being discovered in caves and archaeological sites in West Africa. Although many of these bones have been attributed to extinct animals, such as ancient elephants, some discoveries continue to be debated. These stories fuel theories that argue that the first inhabitants of Africa could have been much larger in stature than modern humans. Furthermore, African legends about giants are often associated with notions of spiritual power and connection to the gods. In many African cultures, giants symbolize not only physical strength, but also wisdom and respect for ancestors. These legends often mix with stories of ancient civilizations that flourished before the emergence of modern societies, adding a layer of mystery to the question of giants on the continent. gigantism, and misinterpreted fossils. Scientific explanations. A plausible scientific explanation for many of the reports of giants is gigantism, a rare medical condition caused by excessive production of growth hormone, which results in an abnormally large height. People with gigantism, such as Robert Wadlow, the tallest man on record at 272 meters, can reach extraordinary heights, but are still within the normal biological limits of humans. Many of the discoveries of giant skeletons may have been exaggerations or confusion by people who suffered from gigantism. In some ancient cultures, very tall individuals may have been venerated or feared, leading to the emergence of myths about their divine origin or supernatural powers. In addition to gigantism, another factor that contributed to the belief in giants were the fossils of large prehistoric animals, such as mammoths, elephants, and dinosaurs. In ancient times, without modern scientific knowledge, these enormous bones were often believed to belong to human giants. These confusions helped perpetuate the idea that giants actually walked the earth. Modern hoaxes and conspiracy theories. With the advancement of the internet, countless images and videos have emerged claiming the discovery of giant skeletons. Many of these images show excavations in which huge bones are supposedly unearthed, but almost all have been exposed as hoaxes. The most famous photo of a giant skeleton found in India circulated widely online, but was revealed to be a digital manipulation from a Photoshop contest. Even with these hoaxes debunked, conspiracy theories continue to thrive, claiming that governments and scientists are suppressing the truth about the existence of giants. Some theorists suggest that the discovery of a race of giants would drastically change the understanding of human evolution. So this information is being hidden to avoid the collapse of traditional scientific narratives. These theories are also fueled by supposedly secret documents from institutions like the Smithsonian, which would theoretically hide or destroy evidence of giants. Although these claims have no solid factual basis, they continue to attract a large number of followers who believe that the true history of humanity is being deliberately suppressed. Giants in pop culture, from ancient tales to modern films. In addition to archaeological theories and discoveries, the image of giants has played a significant role in popular culture over the centuries. From the tales of Jack and the Beanstalk to modern epics like The Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, giants often symbolize an immense strength or challenge that must be faced by heroes. These cultural representations, although fictional, reflect humanity's enduring fascination with the idea of giants. They are both a manifestation of fear of the unknown and a metaphor for uncontrollable forces, be it nature, enemies, or even destiny itself. In many cases, giants are depicted as creatures that threaten the natural order, requiring humans to overcome their fears and fight against impossible odds. Giants also represent an element of escapism and wonder. In a modern world where science explains many mysteries, the idea that giant creatures could have walked the earth is irresistibly intriguing. Films, games, and books explore this fascination, creating worlds where giants are part of a fantastic story that connects ancient times with the present, separating fact from fiction. At the end of this journey through the stories and myths of the bones of giants, it becomes clear that the line between fact and fiction is, in many cases, blurred. Science may have debunked many reports of giant skeletons, but the power of these stories persists. The search for giants and what they represent reflects something profound about human curiosity and our constant search for answers about our past. For many, reports of giant bones, even if not scientifically proven, continue to represent a window into a lost era of human history, where immense beings ruled the earth and coexisted with our ancestors. For others, These stories are mere myths or misunderstandings, products of a collective desire to explain the unexplainable. But ultimately, the stories of giants, their bones, and their legacies remind us that history is an ever-evolving tapestry, woven as much by real discoveries as by the human imagination. Perhaps what we are really looking for when we talk about giants is something more symbolic, a connection to a past full of mysteries and wonders that we are still trying to understand.